Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Coaches Preview Show. I'm Jeremy Qualls, and with me is the head coach of the Nolensville Knights, Will Hester. Coach Hester, so glad to have you in. Well, let's talk about Nolensville. I'm going to start real quick. Before we even get into the game this week, I know it's a huge game for not only you, but the community of Nolensville. But let's do a Nolensville 101. Let's talk everything about Nolensville High School. Right now, what you are doing from the athletic director spot and the coaches that have been hired, just give us a snapshot of what's going on, because a lot of people don't understand, one, what happens when you have to open a new building, two, what an athletic director does. And you're new to this position. You've obviously seen both sides of the coin. So give us a little snapshot of what's going on.
I mean, we're a brand new high school, 9th and 10th grade only, so we've had to hire the head coaches of every sport and their assistant coaches. We've had to identify what their budgetary needs are going to be and budget all those monies for the entire year. We've had to purchase all the uniforms, all the equipment, all the stuff that goes along with hosting a game and running a practice.
Now, I know that it's very cumbersome to get those numbers, to get that information to call, but there has to be a very satisfaction given, a feeling given of knowing that you're starting this thing from scratch and starting it from the ground up, and as well as your coaching staff. Once you got your people hired, there has to be obviously there's a close-knit feel. Am I right on that? I mean, there's a family feel.
We're all having to battle through the same issues, adversities that comes with opening a new school, and we identified these people as people who were up to the challenge. That not a lot of established coaches wanted to step into this situation of starting a new program, especially if they were toward the end of their career, because it does take someone special that's motivated and has a desire to build something from the ground up and know that they're going to be growing pains along the way. So the group that we've hired in these positions are doing a wonderful job. We're all having to work together. It does truly help that united feel that we're trying to get at Nolensville High School, and because we all have to support each other. The baseball team right now is working out 7 kids because the other 20 kids on the team are playing other sports or participating in the band. So same with girls basketball. They got 3 or 4 girls out there working out right now because they're playing volleyball and running cross country and doing all those things. So, we're sharing athletes, and we definitely have to be a close-knit group to do that.
So let's talk about the population that you have in the school currently. 2 grades, serves 2 grades, 9th and 10th grade. What is the population?
We're right at about 480 students right now. The TWSAA on the 20th day of school, which is fastly approaching, is going to take our numbers that day, which will probably be around that 480 mark. They're going to double it, and they will classify us there for all sports for the next 4 years, if you will.
And speaking of that, a lot of people don't understand that all the things that go into that. So on the 20th day, TWSAA requires everybody to give their numbers. Now, in your situation, you're a little bit different than the established grades with schools with 4 grades. Will they take in the account of what you currently have and try to hypothetically give you a number of what you'll be when you add a class next year, or are they going to take the 480 number? Give people understanding when that happens with TWSAA and where that will spit us out football-wise and all the other sports-wise.
Per our discussions with the TWSAA, we're under the impression that they're going to double our number. So since we only have 2 grades now, they're going to double us to a projected full school. Right. So because if we're 480, that's going to put us a little less than 1,000, which is in that 4A in football, right. 2A in everything else.
Because that's a 2-year number they look at. It's a 2-year scope of when they set this new reclassification up, it's for a 2-year span.
Well, it's actually for a 4-year span, but if you grow over 20% in those years, you can get reclassified after the second year.
So they're going to put you right under 1,000, 4A level, double A basketball, softball, everything else. 4A, have you looked at possibility of what region 4A will look like in football?
Well, I mean, there's some private schools in 4A that are more than likely going to be moving into the Division II ranks. Right. Then they are also going to even up the classes as far as number of schools. So you're looking at somewhere between 45 and 50 schools in each class. So there'll be some upward and downward movement shifts as far as that goes as well. So we'll either be pushed north to the Pearl Cone, East Nashville type group, or we'll go south into Marshall County, Giles County. More than likely we'll fall in one of those 2 groups.
Right, and you're looking at that, there's definitely probably maybe an easier route more so than the other. It doesn't matter at that point in time, because in order to succeed in the playoffs, you got to play all the good teams anyways. But there's so many variables right now that nobody knows because of the fact, like you said, with the the private-public split going on and all that. So it'll be interesting to see where you kicked out AA-wise in basketball as well, being that same possibility of being in the same thing as far as Marshall County, Giles County. Let me see who else is in that group. I believe Cascade's in that group.
Yeah, I mean a very predominantly strong basketball league.
Strong basketball league.
You know, and strong football league. Giles County and Marshall County have been two of the stronger 4A teams the last few years. Giles County winning it several years ago, and then Marshall County making a run to the semis last year and one of the top teams this year.
Yeah, and I had I was very fortunate to be in that district coaching boys basketball when Giles County had a 2-year state finals appearance. And
I think they call that the Jeremy Qualls League now.
No, it was definitely they circled that on the calendar because they were looking for a W.
Oh, okay.
During that Marshall County area. Let me just tell you, but that's neither here nor there. Coaching staffs we talked about. Let's talk about some head coaches that you have hired. Basketball, girls basketball. Chris Ladd, obviously from the WCS Sports Conference. Boys basketball.
Boys basketball, Wes Lambert, father's a college coach at Maryville College, spent some time under Barry Wortman at Blackman, most recently in Overton High School. But Wes is a young guy, very energetic. We think has what it takes to build a program from nothing, and it's going to take passion, it's going to take commitment. They've just bought a home in the Nolensville community, so we expect to have Wes for the long haul.
Baseball, not a stranger as well?
Absolutely. Zach Hudson, one of the top assistants at Summit High School.
Yes.
Over the last few years, we were able to wrestle him away from Coach Kirby, another guy who's moved into the community. To me, that's the draw to most of these guys, are being a part of the community in Nolensville, and these guys are wanting to raise their families there.
Let's see, what are we leaving off of?
Softball, Shelby Crawford, who another community member, came from Sunset Middle School, played her high school days at Brentwood Academy or collegiate days at Trevecca. Another energetic, go-get-'em coach who knows the kids.
Soccer?
Eric Shelton, a state championship coach from Rutherford County, Siegel High School. Right. Eric won a championship in girls and had another runner-up finish in girls while at Siegel High School. He's going to do both boys and girls at Nolensville starting out, but another coach with mounds and mounds of experience.
Well, right now we got fall sports full, in swing. You've got soccer, you've got cross country. Who's the coach right now at cross country?
Brooke Koblitz, who ran at the University of Georgia, just graduated from the University of Georgia. We actually interviewed her right before she was getting to run in the SEC championships last year. And our volleyball coach, Ashley Sarmiento, who got their big first ever varsity victory last night, a 3-1 victory over the Sycamore Trees, or whatever their mascot is, Sycamore High School.
Sycamore High School in Cheatham County.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what their mascot is, but I really don't know.
I think it's an eagle, actually, but it would be great if they were the trees.
Golf's in full swing right now as well.
Coach Johnny Bridgman. Johnny is the head golf professional at Brentwood Country Club. He's a non-faculty coach for us. We're doing a wonderful job. His daughter plays on the team, so he also lives in the community.
So it sounds like your coaching staffs are you've got some high-quality people in there. Be very interested. Look forward to seeing how they do in their respective sports. Let's talk about the culture inside the building. How are the kids reacting to this? I mean, you're talking about a population of 480, 240. Let's split it in two. 240 are really, they're 3 weeks into their high school career. They really have some sort of an idea, but they really don't have an idea of what a Ravenwood, a Brentwood, or anybody else in WCS Sports Conference, what a student section, what they do. So they're kind of learning on the fly. The sophomores, however, have had 1 year's experience. So let's talk about the culture inside the building real quick.
I mean, it's going well. The building itself, is set up to house 4 grades, so it's quite empty. We have complete hallways that have no classes going on in them. But the kids are adapting well. The thing that you struggle with the 9th and 10th grade is, that student section is totally dependent on mom or dad or someone else to get them to those games. So those midweek soccer and volleyball games are very sparsely attended, and there's really nothing you can do about it because they have no way to get there.
That's a lot of things that people completely forget about, including myself. That's right. Nobody can drive.
Yeah, we have 2 kids that drive right now to Nolensville High School.
So when you give out your parking permits, it's pretty quick, right?
They have great parking spots, great right at the front. But that's the tough part of those midweek, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock volleyball, soccer matches is, those kids getting home and getting back. And we have, like I said, 480 students in the school. We have 220 physicals turned in to participate in athletics. So 50% of our school almost is participating in athletics and extracurricular activities. If you include band and chorus and those things that don't require a physical in there, you're probably up over 50%. So, if you're having a midweek match and you've got everybody else practicing something else, you're literally talking about 10% of the school could even show up to watch, and then so it makes it difficult to have that big, strong section. We're hoping that we got some Friday night events. We got a Friday night volleyball match coming up. We got a Friday night football game this week. We hope that we can see what the true section is going to look like on those nights, but not much opportunity to get those people out right now.
Well, let's talk about the turf. The turf is a big, that's a big subject when you talk about Nolensville High School. It always comes up first. So you've had plenty of practices on it. Tonight you'll have your first ever home game. So tell us about the turf. I know, this is new to us, new to the WCS Sports Conference. What are your thought processes on it right now, going from your traditional grass fields to the turf?
There are several different things, pros and cons that go along with it. It is a little bit harder on your joints. A little bit more soreness recovering from practice than you would on a grass field. I think that's probably the number one thing we've noticed. But that being said, though, as far as, we've had some severe weather on practice days, and then 20 minutes later, the field's completely dry and we're able to practice on it, where, people are getting rained out and all those kind of things. We're tracking zero mud into the locker room. There's no grass clippings anywhere inside the school. Only negative to that is there are little bitty rubber pellets in there, but sweep up easily. So moms are already excited that the uniform's a whole lot cleaner coming home. You may be stinky, but it's not muddy, it's not dirty, it's not soiled. So there are a lot of positives. The number one thing is the ability to train year-round on the surface and not have to worry about it deteriorating. That's the number one thing. We're going to be able to, baseball's going to be able to long toss out there. Everybody's going to be able to run and condition out there. And we're not going to have to worry about wearing out a spot or moving around or all those kind of things.
So I'm interested. I was unaware of this until you mentioned it about the soreness of the joints. You'd think it would be the opposite. It's very spongy, springy feel, but you've noticed your kid's been just a little bit more sore than
you can go back and look over time to research from other places that have had it.
Right.
It's better than it used to be under the old turf that had a concrete base.
Yeah.
But there's still a pretty solid rock base underneath there, and it's still a little harder on the joints. You can tell in your own body, even as a coach, standing out there as opposed to standing on natural grass.
Okay. Well, when we come back from break, we're going to be nothing but Nolensville football. Look forward to talking about that. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Coach's Preview Show. We're visiting with Will Hester. Tonight's game. How big is this tonight's game against South Gibson? South Gibson's coming in 2-0. This will be really your only varsity game that you're playing. You're a JV squad. You've got freshmen, sophomores, but you're going to play a full varsity squad in South Gibson who's coming in 2-0. What's it like in your locker room now with the kids?
First off, we're a football team. We don't like labels.
Thank you.
So we're a football team playing another football team tonight. So we're going to make sure that we give our best effort. True, we have 9th and 10th grade kids, and they're excited about this opportunity to go out here against a varsity team, made up of seniors, basically, of guys that have been playing high school for 4 years. Most of our guys have been playing, 1 year of freshman ball, and now they're thrust into the limelight, and a lot of the guys we're playing are true freshmen. So it's going to be interesting to see how we respond. We've held our own against the JV teams that we've gone against and scrimmaged against. We had a lot of success.
Other football teams, not JV teams.
Correct, other football teams. Thank you for correcting me there. But it's going to be interesting to see. We'll be an underdog tonight for sure. They come in at 2-0. Just missed the playoffs last year with a late second field goal to Dyersburg. So, they were unable to get in the playoffs last year, but they're rolling right now. Scored 47 points last week. So they're a triple option team. kind of like you would see out of Georgia Tech or the Naval Academy. They do it a little bit different as they're in the gun, but they're going to come right at us, so we're going to have to bow up and stop them.
Before we get into the South Gibson scouting report, let's talk about your group. All right, let's talk about your coaching staff right now. Who do you have on coaching staff with you?
All right, our defensive coordinator and assistant head coach is Paul Derrick. Paul was with me at my previous employer. So Paul and I have been together for several years now, as have most of the staff. Paul coaches the secondary for us, or the safeties in particular, but coordinates the defense. Bryant Gunner, who is also with me previously, is coaching the corners and the wide receivers. Does a wonderful job, teaches AP history. Zach Farkas, who teaches chemistry, coaches the inside linebackers for us. Jabbo Burrow, who coaches English, is coaching the offensive line. And then his father, Mike Burrow, who's a big addition to the staff. He's a retired Alabama coach, just got out here with us the last couple of weeks, and he's made a huge addition to us, and he coaches outside linebackers for us, but retired in Alabama and moved up here to be closer to his son, is now helping us out. So, I can't say enough about our staff. Then, we got one small minor addition to the staff, probably one of the winningest coaches in Tennessee history over the last years, and that's Ron Adelot. And Ron coaches the quarterbacks for us and is a huge, huge asset to us as a staff as far as, just knowledge of things. And, there's not been a situation that doesn't come up that he hasn't had any experience with. And he does a wonderful job of running our middle school program, and now he's helping us with the high school as well. So
let's talk about that for a second. You've got an interesting dynamic there. I mean, it's like a perfect storm, right? You got a brand new facility. You've got Mill Creek Middle that's on the same footprint. So let's talk about that transition. I know we talked about the other day in your office, the seamless transition and the benefits of having Ron Adelot running your middle school program. The verbiage is the same, everything. I mean, it's just a seamless transition to the high school. What's the benefits of having that?
Well, I mean, it's how you build a program. Consistency is the key to success. And, we want our message to be consistent. We want the verbiage to be consistent. We want our kids, when they, graduate from one grade to the next, they step right in, and you're not doing a whole lot of reteaching in spring practice and all those kind of things. And, Coach Adelot, with his experience and dealing with these young men, they're going to be prepared for what we're going to ask of them mentally and physically. Their parents, quite frankly, are going to be prepared in expectations of what a winning program is like and how you go through those. And just like us, they're a new school. They were split out of Sunset, so they basically took one middle school football team last year in Sunset Middle and broke it into two teams. So they've got some growing pains with that as well, just like we do. So our two programs are kind of mirroring each other, and we'll be able to grow together.
So up until this point, I believe there's been 3 middle school games. What's their record right now?
They're 1-3 right now. They won the first game versus Sunset.
Right.
They lost 13-12 to Page Middle School in a close fought game, and then took one on the chin to Brentwood Middle last week. And then they play Heritage in their next game.
So I mean, that's an interesting, to see how that goes, and you will see a difference once those classes are start full, just like you, and that time will change. What is his Friday night duties with you?
He's going to be in the press box for us for the offense. His specific duty is to watch the guy we label as number 1, which is the edge defender. When we're talking about blocking schemes and play calling, we identify him as number 1, and Ron. It'll be Ron's duty to watch number 1 and to make suggestions and talk through things in between drives.
I mean, have somebody with that experience up there talking to you. I mean, that's got to be, worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like having a phone call to heaven or something.
All right, so let's talk about players. We've got some very talented players that if you don't know them now and you're watching this show, you better remember the names. So let's start with your quarterback.
All right, we have 2 phenomenal quarterbacks. Colton Dooley, who also starts outside linebacker for us. He's kind of your throwback quarterback. He's the bruiser, the hard runner. Anybody who watched Williamson County football last year, very similar to Andrew Rapay in the way he goes about his business. And then, the guy who's probably got the most upside as far as a quarterback, because he's 6'4" and 170 pounds, is sophomore is Brandon Wharton Jr. And Brandon transferred from Lighthouse Christian to Nolensville, and Lighthouse being a TWSAA member school, was able to play right away when they moved over to our zone. So
let's talk about his last name. It's a lot of people are familiar with that Wharton name. His father is
Brandon,
right.
who played at Overton High School, played point guard in basketball for the University of Tennessee. His uncle is Vic Wharton, who coached at Independence girls basketball and some football, and his cousin Vic Jr., Vic the Third, actually, who's now playing in California, was the receiver at Independence. A lot of people know him. And then the father of everyone, Vic Sr., has been a longtime Nashville coach, and most recently he's coached in some private schools.
And Brandon's father, Brandon Wharton, played at the University of Tennessee, like you mentioned. We happened to play them. He would not remember me by any stretch of the imagination.
We happened to play them. We being Austin P?
Austin P.
Okay.
He would not remember me by any stretch of the imagination because he'd have to be watching warm-ups. But I do remember him playing. He was a very solid player.
Absolutely.
So, anyway.
He was actually a very good high school quarterback. Was being more heavily recruited as a quarterback in high school than he was a basketball player. And his high school coach took another job his junior year and decided to stick just with basketball going into his senior year.
So who else we have on the squad? We've got the quarterback taken care of. Let's talk about
tailback Jadon Green. Was a very strong physical runner for us. Probably runs too physically in the fact that he does have some troubles holding on to the ball from time to time because he's trying to do too much as far as using his hands to get off defenders and that sort of thing. But Jadon's done a wonderful job through our scrimmages in our first game so far this year. Tim Stayskull is probably our most diverse player on offense. We'll play him in the backfield. We'll play him out at receiver. Tim Kutras, who a lot of people will know the Kutras name. His grandfather's name is on the stadium at Overton High School, Nick Kutras. But Tim is playing receiver for us, doing a wonderful job. We have two other receivers, Connor Kerr and Wesley Jones, who do wonders for us. And then up front, it's a group that aren't going to get a lot of name recognition, but they do a wonderful job. Sam Chapman, Nick Yoshihara, Holden Collette, Will Sparks, a whole bunch of guys playing up there for us. And defensively, defense is going to be similar to what you've always seen out of a Will Hester coach team. You're not going to know a whole lot of the names, but they're going to play great team defense. And Coach Derrick and his guys did a wonderful job of getting those guys prepared. But inside linebacker Grayson Wallace will be one of the leaders in the front for us. Our quarterback of the defense is our strong safety, Jack McWilliams. He makes all the calls, gets us lined up. But we're a small school, so we got some guys playing both ways. So that Wesley Jones I mentioned at receivers also having to play free safety. We got Kutras playing corner, who's playing a receiver. Colby Anderson, who moved in from California, is playing corner for us. Nick Yoshihara and Sam Chapman, I mentioned on the O-line, will be playing D-line. Gabe Bauman will also be playing some nose guard, along with Braden Clark will be playing some nose guard for us as well. And then Stayskull and Dooley, who we mentioned on the offense, starting an outside linebacker for us. So we got a lot of guys having to play both ways, but it's kind of the nature of the small school mentality.
Right. So up to this point, you've played already who?
All right, we've scrimmaged against CPA. We scrimmaged against Smyrna High School's freshman team. We jamboreed against Forest High School's varsity team.
Right.
And we played one legit JV game against Forest High School's JV team.
And won that 47.
49.
49. Oh, yeah. That's not 49-7. So it's interesting. You feel pretty good probably when we play another football team of the same age versus, the full varsity schedule coming up on South Gibson. So let's talk about South Gibson. How do you even prepare for this game? Now, we know – I know you're going to prepare for it like you would any other game. I understand that. But let's talk about, okay, we're looking at things. What are we looking for when South Gibson, when you're looking at the film on the huddle on South Gibson, what are we looking at?
We're looking at a physical option football team on offense and a defensive football team that prides itself on, stopping the run and playing a lot of man coverage, quite frankly, in the back end in the pass game. As far as how do we prepare? I mean, it's difficult to simulate that offense.
Right.
For us to use a scout team, if you will, to run their option offense, because it's not like anything that we do. And quite frankly, we don't have the depth to give a quality look of the speed that we're going to see. So there's going to be some initial shock to the speed of the game. I mean, we've prepared our kids for that. They know that it's going to all happen faster than it's been happening in practice. The key is how well are we at handling that and adjusting to that as the game goes on. But those guys are going to come right at us. Scott Stidham is the coach. I believe he was a University of Tennessee Martin graduate, so has done a great job building that program. They're a fairly new school. I think it's in its 5th or 6th year of existence. So they understand where we are, and that's why they were kind of not excited, but willing to come be a part of this because it wasn't that far removed that they were a part of it. So they're 2-0. They've scored a lot of points. But they're giving up some points as well. So, if we're going to have an opportunity, we're going to have to score some points and get some turnovers.
Do they throw a lot out of this triple option?
Very rarely. I think we've seen maybe 3 or 4 passes, 5 passes per game. It's pretty much ground and pound right at you. They got a very physical fullback. They've got a slot back, Dre McAllister's his name. That's a very quality athlete. You can take it to the house at any point.
So when you prepare for this triple option, what people have to understand is, when you get a full squad, 4 classes, you can bring up freshmen, sophomores to, assimilate this. But now here you are with your sophomores, and hey, your freshmen who are roughly, 6-8 months removed from middle school football to come in and run the triple option of what South Gibson runs. So, I mean, that's got to be a little difficult in itself because the knowledge, the understanding of the game has not quite gotten to them yet.
And the number one thing is, our guys don't know how to practice. In order to be a championship team, you got to practice like a championship team, and there's a lot that goes into that. So, we're having to try to model that behavior as coaches. There are no juniors and seniors out there to say, look at him, this is their 3rd and 4th year doing this. They know what it takes to work hard, to practice. So, we're starting from scratch right there and trying to build that culture. In a perfect world, this game would have been the last game of the year. We'd had an opportunity to build to that.
Right.
This is our 2nd game of the year. So it is what it is.
And that's for scheduling purposes probably on South Gibson's part.
Yeah, I mean, South Gibson, Jackson Central Mary closed its doors.
Right.
And all those teams over there lost a game out of that district. So, we had some opportunities to play at Dyersburg or South Gibson or Southside out of Jackson. So South Gibson was the team that we were able to work it out with, and they're coming in, and so it is what it is, and this is the date that worked for them.
All right, so you've obviously, I'm going to ask you to take a step back and be an analyst for a minute. In your role now, you haven't played on Friday nights. Tonight will be the first night that you've played on a Friday night all year long, and will be the last, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because the rest of your games are usually on.
You never know; they could start a JV state championship or something.
Well, that would be pretty cool. We'll work on that. But let's talk about the WCS Sports Conference. You're in tune. You're plugged in with those guys. You know those guys. They are, they respect you. You respect them. Y'all have a great relationship with most of those guys anyways. Let's talk about the other teams real quick. I'm going to ask you for an analytical point of view. Brentwood, Rossview. You see any upsets there coming from Rossview? You think Ron Crawford and Brentwood kind of continue on their trend of winning?
Brentwood will not lose to a team north of I-40.
I agree with that. Overton, Franklin?
I do believe that Franklin gets a little revenge this time. Bobcats are 1-1. I believe that Franklin gets them.
So here's an interesting Summit, Shelbyville. Summit's trying to get, they were in your chair a couple years ago. They're trying to get off that. They're 1-1, 500 for the first time. Can they get over 500?
That's going to be a tough one. Coach Coleman and his staff are doing a wonderful job of building that program, but Shelbyville's got some serious athletes in there. I would probably have to take Shelbyville in that one.
Independence, Lincoln County. Can Indy get to that 5A state championship game again?
Yes. I think they have to continue to get better. I don't think they're a 5A state championship team right now, but that won't be a game.
Centennial Dixon, Coach Kreisky?
Yeah, Dixon is much improved from what I understand. It should be a hard-fought game, but I think Centennial pulls it out.
Okay, Ravenwood, Mount Juliet. Mount Juliet's lost a few games in a row here. Ravenwood obviously coming off the Battle of the Woods.
I mean, those Ravenwood kids know how to win. They've learned how to battle adversity all along. The Raptors take that one.
Well, you are off the hot seat, man. Great job. I look forward to seeing how this develops. Nolensville High School plays big game tonight against South Gibson. Kickoff at 7 o'clock. Game day at 6 o'clock. You want to come out and check them out? Be out there at Nolensville High School. Thank you for joining us for the Coaches Preview Show. We'll see you next time.